Sylvia Chrisman. I am your host, and I'm here today with my friend Biet Simkin. We're here in New York City, and I'm so glad that you made the time to meet with me and tell us about your life.
Yay! Good to be together.
Thank you. Hi. So the other day, I saw you at an event that you curated, which I thought was so profound. And do you want to tell us about this event?
Sure. So I co-created with Ruby Warrington a couple of years ago a thing called Club Soda, and it's a Sober Curious event series that we do here in New York City. There's been some done in London as well. And the idea behind it is just giving people a space to come together to investigate sobriety, so like sober dating or sober sex, or even, not drinking in an environment where everyone else is drinking. And you don't need to be sober to come to the event. You just need to have a curiosity around what sobriety would look like in your life. Like, are you drinking too much? Are you drinking in places when you really don't need to and then making your life more difficult? Do you ever end up sleeping with someone you regret and then wake up kind of like, what the hell was that? And just looking at it and seeing if it might be fun to incorporate more sobriety into your life. Yeah. So we did that.
Yeah, I thought it was an incredible event because it really brought attention to the everyday life of what you could do and what life would be like if you're not drinking, and how you would interact with people if you weren't drinking, if you don't have a social lubricant, which I think in this day and age is so important. We're all spiritually seeking. And you still find a lot of people, drinking a lot of wine while doing that as well.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, the wellness community is, all over the place. It's a booming industry. People are doing Kundalini now. People are doing breath work. People are meditating in studios across the globe all of a sudden. And it's like, okay, but then when you're done with that and then you go have a bottle of whiskey or like a bottle of wine, it's just, did it negate it is the question, really.
Yeah. And what was that journey like for you? I mean, why did you start this?
Well, for me, so it's different than Ruby. So Ruby is sober curious, which means she just drinks sometimes. But I've been sober for 9 years. I got sober 9 years ago, but not because I felt like it or I thought it was a good idea, but mostly because my life had already been burned down to the ground. And I really loved alcohol and drugs. I believed in them. I worshipped them, but not as much as I worshipped reason. And 9 years ago, I had to stop worshiping both them and reason and come to a state of surrender to a part of myself I hadn't known, really.
Mm. So you were telling me earlier about your dad.
Yeah.
And I just, I'm fascinated by the story of your dad. Do you want to tell us about that?
Sure. My dad was he was really an awakened teacher. And as with many awakened teachers, he was a flawed human being. But he was an incredible human. I feel like my mom died when I was almost 7. And, most people, when they have a parent die, are left with another parent. I feel like I was not left with a parent. I was more left with an awakened shaman. And he taught me everything. He was my teacher. We meditated together from the time that I was in diapers. We read dense psychological and spiritual literature from the time that I was a child. And he taught me everything that I knew. But one of the things that he really practiced and was a big teacher of and a cheerleader of was hedonism. And I think that maybe that worked for him, although that may be questionable, but it definitely didn't work for me in the long term. I really thought that I would be drinking at my wedding. I thought I would be drinking on the day I died. And what I found was that actually for me, sobriety was when my life began.
Mm. And what has that been like now? What was that journey like?
Being sober?
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long journey, so it's had a lot of dimensions and depth to it. But I think that, one of the things that I've been gifted, it's just been very blissful. That's very true. But it's also, for anybody who really knows what bliss feels like, it's filled with grief. And it's filled with real encountering your demons and encountering your worst attributes. If you can't be with those parts of yourself, then you aren't really with yourself also. So if you still have yet to find out what an asshole you are, you just don't know yourself yet. So I think being sober for me has been about discovering all my own cruelty and all my own shortcomings, and not just coming to terms with them, but instead transmuting them into gifts for both myself and for the world. And that doesn't mean that I indulge in my shortcomings or use my alcoholism or my humanity as some kind of an excuse. In fact, quite the opposite. I would say that for me, what I think sobriety has been all about is about celebrating the ability to be courageous in the face of those shortcomings, because I am not different from anyone else in my shortcomings. They might be different in that each person has different shortcomings, but I'm not different in that.
Yeah.
I have them.
Yeah, I find a lot of times people say that they like to take the edge off, which is like they like to drink or get high or just check out for a moment, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The edge.
The edge, right?
Totally.
You know, what does that mean to you that, you know, you don't do that? You're just awake to all aspects of you.
Yeah, I mean, it just means bliss, you know, because you're confronted with really being a good person, because you have nowhere to run from yourself. And being a good person means being in integrity with your own beliefs and standards. And that also takes a lot of effort to be clear on what is integrity for you. Like, it's different for each person, and it's changing all the time. So it's really a matter of like meditation and prayer really help me to have a compass around what that is. But I love interfacing with reality. I love people. And also, one of the main components of being sober is learning how to no longer blame the world around you for your problems, and no longer walking around a pile of resentments, but instead being, you know, very compassionate and open towards everybody being whoever they are.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest realizations I had in my life was that I wasn't a victim of circumstance, right?
Right.
I wasn't, that I was a participant in most cases. And that is what really, like, my journey started changing for the better. That I stopped looking for different forms of escaping the reality I had created for myself. Learning how to stay in the middle of whatever it was that I was confronted with. Most difficult part, the right, the wrong, the good, the ugly.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
So being able to look in the mirror and say, I really don't like what I see, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
Right here, right now.
Right.
And I don't have to pretend it's not there.
Right.
I don't have to walk away from it. Acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we were chatting earlier. You said that you wrote a book.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. You want to tell me about your book?
Sure. The book it's really awesome because, again, it's from 30 plus years of study of a certain modality of meditation, and the work is based around 44 laws, and there's 44, at least there's 46 chapters, I think, but 44 of them will be on the laws of the universe that prevent you from your enlightenment. So each law has its own chapter, and the truth is that these laws are real, just like gravity, and they are working against you being enlightened, and really having an awareness of what these laws are and how they're functioning against you is just the first step in knowing what to do. Because people think they're just going to meditate. I don't fucking understand that. There's all these like meditation studios, and you're just like putting people in them, and then they're like, good luck, you know. It's a shit show. Meditation is a shit show. Like, I don't know what people are telling these people. It's like, oh, you're just going to be like a lotus flower. And it's like, I've never meditated in my life and come out feeling like a lotus flower. Like, meditation shows you the ugliest parts of yourself. It shows you your intolerance. It shows you your anger. It shows you your rage. It confronts you with the rage you have about all the injustices you think you've incurred your entire life, and also your inability to just be in the present moment. It's absolutely infuriating for anyone who's ever tried it. The present moment is very elusive, and someone just coming down from some mountaintop telling you, like, yeah, if you just go to the present moment, it'll be great. It's like, how the fuck do I get there? when there's 44 laws working against that at all times. And those 44 laws are inside me. They're one with me. And they're not going away. So this book is really about how can you fall in love with these 44 laws. Like, rather than being like, they're not your enemy, they're actually there to help you, but they're there to help you by causing friction.
Yeah.
So if you can like dig on that friction, you'll have a better time, but it's not going away. Mm-hmm. So it's like, whether you read this book or not, like, the shit's gonna hit the fan for you, especially if you're meditating.
Yeah, 100%. For sure. I mean, that was my experience too.
Right? Yeah. For anyone who's ever meditated, I think
once you start going inward, it's like, and then what?
Yeah.
You know, you're going to find all kinds of things that are extremely uncomfortable.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And what do you do with them? Oh, I know. So, what does your day-to-day look like at the moment? What does your day look like?
My life?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, my life is really easy. So, and that's very different from what it was, in that, you know, my life used to be this, it's important to speak to what it was, because up until I was 29 years old, it was just an endless, endless ego festival / despair, despair and ego. And I call it ego because there are highs to ego. For anyone who's listening to this who's still trapped in that endless cycle of hell, like, it is being caused by your ego, whether you realize it or not. And your ego is a fabulous, fabulous tool. And so it's always going to gift you lots of fun experiences. It's going to accidental grace, upon you. So there'll be those magical nights where you're at the right place at the right time, followed by 10 weeks of feeling like you're going to die, So I think that today my life is really just, not to say that I'm always like on a lily pad, floating by, it doesn't matter whether it's difficult or easy. Some days are really easy and some days are very difficult. Like, I feel like shit. But regardless of how I feel, I show up 100% in life. I have incredible relationships. I have an incredible relationship with my husband. I have an incredible relationship with my career, and it's very natural. So I interact with my brand, I interact with my team, I interact with my students, and I feel very connected. So today, my life feels very connected. I obviously, probably redundant to say that I meditate every day. So, but like, yeah, I obviously meditate every day, as well as do yoga or some kind of a, physical activity. And I pray all throughout the day as well. And to me, prayer is not a religious action, but more of an action of communication with my inner world.
Mm. That's interesting. What do you mean by that? Communication of your inner world?
Well, there's a part of all of us which some refer to as a soul, others refer to as intuition, others refer to as God. And that part of us is omnipotent. And that part of us, it's always flowing downstream. It doesn't have difficulty, and it doesn't experience discord with reality. It's in reality without duality. Mm-hmm. It exists as a whole. And so that part of me that is holistic is different from the rest of me, which Biet, the woman who goes at my little avatar, is dualistic. She's happy, that she's sad, she's gorgeous, and she's ugly, and she's fat, and she's thin, and she's rich, and she's poor, and she's connected, and she's lonely. It's like all the things, because she's a human, but she is not me. And by prayer, I say, like, I, Biet, I'm connecting with the part of me that doesn't have these kinds of issues, and asking her or it to guide me. What is my next step to be? What is my next thought to be? Who am I supposed to say yes to? Please take the people out of my life who don't serve your vision, and please bring people in who do serve your vision. What is your vision? How can I be a servant of that vision? And then this inner world, again, not religious at all, just informs me of what my purpose on this planet is and what my next step is to be. And as I've become 100% obedient to that voice, and I can say that I am, except for maybe sometimes I eat French fries. But other than that, I'm obedient to that voice. And when I am, then my life is just really fucking easy. So prayer is really just my way of, it's like a navigational tool that I refer to. And I would imagine people who don't refer to it have more complications on their journey.
What do you think is the difference between something being easy and something being comfortable?
That's a good question. I think comfort is like hell on earth. If you've ever experienced it, it's a sign that you're not growing anymore. Easy should be difficult, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So easy is challenging. Easy means constantly taking on new adventures. It means pushing yourself to higher levels of being in the world, which means that if you notice a defect of character, you self-correct, you constantly correcting. So that's happening. Yeah, I mean, it's super different, because comfort just means you're falling asleep. Comfort is falling asleep. And when I say easy, I mean alive. Yeah.
So comfort is also a form of maybe feeling anesthetized, numb.
Yeah.
Right?
That sounds true. Yeah. Except for whatever the 1% of comfort, which is like you with a nice blankie or something, that's fine. But like other than that, it's a slippery slope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's where you don't stay awake to what is right in front of you and what makes you feel alive.
Right. And so we need a bit of that too. It's not like I'm not saying like walk on nails and hit yourself with a stick 24 hours a day because you really want to fucking be here for it. I mean, I'm saying like, all right, do what you have to do to keep yourself awake. Create conscious shocks like meditation, like yoga, like, leaving your house and meeting with people and asking people to coffee who you're afraid of and excited by, and, get out of your comfort zone, but then, come home and fucking have a hot cocoa. Like, don't, be, it doesn't have to be all fucking work all the time.
Right.
Yeah,
I know.
Okay, like chill, and if you drink, then have a martini and whatever you want to do. Like, there's no right or wrong. It's just a matter of like, you need to be careful about falling asleep, because when you fall asleep, you will suffer. That's the main consequence. Yeah, your life might turn to total shit. That's probably the future consequence of many minutes, hours, days put together of being asleep. But essentially, the moment you fall asleep, you're already fucking irritated as shit. Like, I just know immediately as soon as I fall asleep, I'm like, oh, I'm asleep because I'm uncomfortable. Like, uncomfortable. Like, if I'm uncomfortable, that doesn't happen when you're awake.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you start being irritable and restless and discontent, then you're not paying attention to what really could be.
Amen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I know that feeling very well.
Good.
I hear that for sure. So, if somebody wants to find you, where can they find you?
Well, I have a website, which is just my name, bietsimkin.com, bietsimkin.com.
Yeah, we're definitely going to put that down in the show notes as well, so people can look it up. And then you're going to, on there, you'll publish when the book comes out. I'm pretty sure people are going to hear about the 44, what is it, steps to enlightenment? Laws.
Yeah.
Sorry, not steps.
They're not steps. They're laws that are working against you. Yeah.
Why 44?
Well, it's a long story, but it's not my own system. It's derived from an ancient system that I've been studying for a long time, and I've reinterpreted it and added some of my own flair and my own interpretation. But, nothing that's real is, nobody that's coming out is coming out from nothing. Like, we're all one with the time this shit started, so it needs to be passed down, and it needs to be passed down in a verbiage that people can understand. That the people that taught me this work are either dead or in their 80s. So there's no one my age who's doing this work or a master of this work, and so I feel very privileged to be able to bring this to the world in this completely new way.
That's awesome. And how did you find it?
My father.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Oh, I can't wait. Thank you so much for making the time. We're already on the end of our time. This is amazing. Incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And for everyone listening, please, if you haven't subscribed to our podcast, yes, do so. And if you wanted to submit questions, you can do that by reviewing us online or writing in directly. Thank you. That's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your ongoing support. Before I leave you, I want to invite you into my world. Please go check out dnxcommunity.com. This is where you'll find the other nomads and evaders of convention.
We'll see you there. And if you're interested in our English-speaking events, go and check out dnxglobal.com. You'll find the link below this podcast as well. And if you have time, one last favor, please go to iTunes, look for Sylvia Chrisman or look for the DNX podcast and leave a review. Thank you so much, lovely people, and I'll talk to you next time.